Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open a really unique, absolutely fascinating case file. We're going to be digging into some highly unusual recent found footage from a YouTube creator who documents what honestly seems like an impossible cryptid hunt. Our goal for this explainer is to objectively break down this creator's narrative step by step. We really want to understand exactly what they claim to have uncovered, and we're going to map out a mystery that literally starts in a local lake and ends, well, somewhere much, much further away. It's a pretty wild premise, right? Seriously, what would you do if you looked up and saw a monster on the moon? Today, we are tracking one creator's incredibly dedicated journey to answer exactly that question. By following their timeline chronologically, we're going to analyze how a casual stargazing session completely spiraled into a boots-on-the-ground investigation, a sketchy laboratory experiment, and ultimately a sprawling extraterrestrial theory. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, a lunar anomaly. So, looking through a high-powered telescope during a full moon, the creator spots a very familiar, terrifying silhouette standing directly on the lunar surface. But right out of the gate, we run into a massive logistical problem, which is the mathematical scale. Think about it. An average human is about 1.8 meters tall. A normal Siren Head cryptid is traditionally scaled somewhere between 12 and 18 meters. But the moon? The moon has a diameter of 3,474 kilometers. For a creature to be visible through a standard consumer telescope against that massive lunar backdrop, its size must have increased to truly planetary proportions. I mean, we're talking practically the size of a continent here. Moving on to Section 2, traces in the forest. And that leads us straight into Section 3, the 11 strange discoveries. To actually back up this lunar sighting, the creator launches a drone over a local lake, hunting for any earthly tracks before heading out on foot. To keep things moving, we've organized their findings into categories, starting with what we'll call the biological trail. This starts right by the water with completely intact fish skeletons, which the creator thinks the beast just spit out as it emerged from the lake. But as they move deeper into the woods, the discoveries escalate way beyond fish. They find a human skeleton, then a dog, and finally a cat. The creator impartially points out a really chilling pattern here. Whatever this was, it seemingly attacked and consumed absolutely everything in its path as it moved inland. Which naturally brings us to the next big theme, the hunter's gear. You see, this forest wasn't just some random feeding ground. It was an active trapping zone. The creator stumbles upon abandoned megaphones, and when they test one out, it actually has a specific siren option, clearly used as a lure. They also find 3 massive nets that are way too big for any normal hunting game. But the real smoking gun? The physical documents left behind. There are these huge hunting instruction posters scaling the cryptid at its standard 12 to 18 meter height, plus warning signs literally telling people to block their ears against sonic attacks. So human hunters were absolutely out here, and judging by that biological trail we just covered, they totally failed. But wait, it gets weirder because this wasn't just a hunting ground. It was an active scientific study site. This is our third category, the scientific anomalies. The creator finds discarded EMF readers that suddenly start spiking, detecting these massive electromagnetic fluctuations. That's a pretty huge hint that something massive is still close by. And on top of that, they discover unhatched, super mysterious eggs and this weird, chemically filled scientific tube. Knowing it's not safe out there, the creator scoops up the eggs and the tube, completely determined to take them back to a lab for proper analysis. The tension in the source footage really peaks right about here, because as those EMF readers start going crazy, the whole environment reacts. The creator spots birds just fleeing en masse, and then, perfectly capturing the sheer panic of the moment, they say something gigantic is moving under the trees, and now trees are even collapsing. There is a huge monster in the forest. The vibe completely shifts from tracking a trail to just surviving an encounter, because the forest is quite literally falling apart around them. But then, instead of this epic confrontation, they just find the aftermath. The destruction abruptly stops. Out in a clearing, the creator finds an untriggered mannequin rigged with megaphones. Clearly a final failed decoy trap from the hunters. But far more importantly, right next to it, there's this immense, deeply burnt, circular trace on the ground. The creature had completely vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but this scorched earth mark. Obviously, this deeply confuses the creator and raises some huge questions about where the creature actually went. All right, let's shift gears to Section 4, laboratory experiments. Retreating back to the safety of their home laboratory, the creator sets up a really clear hypothesis. Since everything they found in the forest was centered around hunting Siren Head, they firmly assumed that these recovered eggs and the scientific tube must contain cryptid offspring, baby Siren Heads. But as we're about to see, the actual results of these experiments are entirely different and, honestly, way more unexpected. The creators' methodology is incredibly systematic. For the eggs, they fire up a professional-grade incubator. They place the surviving egg inside, crank up the humidity and temperature, and set a timer for exactly 1 minute. Once that minute is up and the egg actually starts to shake, they use a syringe to inject a chemical accelerant directly into the egg, essentially forcing it to hatch on the spot. And the results completely shatter the creators' expectations. This terrifying, completely unknown beast bursts out of the egg, and let me tell you, it is definitively not a baby Siren Head. Right after that, the creator takes a highly volatile blue chemical and mixes it into the recovered science tube, forcing the liquid inside to evaporate under immense pressure. And out of that emerges this incredibly aggressive panther-like creature. This whole laboratory twist leads the creator to a pretty chilling new conclusion. Those human hunters in the forest, they weren't just tracking one cryptid. They were actively studying multiple, highly dangerous and totally unknown species. Which brings us to the finale, Section 5, the mystery resolved. Out of nowhere, these intense lab experiments are interrupted by an alert from the space room. The creator's automated telescope has detected movement up in the sky. But right before the big reveal, there's actually a super fascinating scientific interlude. Just to prove how powerful and legitimate their telescope gear is, the creator shows some footage taken earlier in the day using a specialized solar filter. They captured the sun in stunning detail, dropping the fact that its surface temperature is over 5,500 degrees Celsius, and they even share this gorgeous astrophotography shot of the North American Nebula. It's a smart move, really grounding the narrative in actual astronomical data before throwing us right back into the supernatural. And then, the creator's patience finally pays off. The high-quality live feed kicks in, and it shows the giant cryptid actively stepping out from the dark side of the moon, right into the visibly illuminated craters, which forces the ultimate question that this whole investigation has been building toward. How on Earth, or rather, how in space, did Siren Head get to the moon, and how did it get so ridiculously big? To tie this entire crazy case file together, the creator presents a perfectly chronological, unified theory. First, the creature emerged from its hiding spot down in the local lake. Second, it tore its way through the forest, thoroughly defeating those human hunters in their traps. Third, and this completely explains that weird scorched earth we talked about earlier, the cryptid was abducted by a mysterious spaceship literally right before the creator could find it. And finally, through some completely unknown extraterrestrial technology, it was dropped onto the lunar surface, its size massively scaled up to that of a planetary giant. Which leaves us all with one final, deeply lingering thought to ponder. If we are actually following the logic of this creator's fascinating narrative, what are the implications for humanity if a continent-sized cryptid is actively living and potentially watching us right from the lunar surface? It's a real testament to how incredibly creative storytelling can blend earthly tracking with massive cosmic mysteries. Thank you so much for joining me in this investigation today. I really hope this breakdown leaves you eager to explore even more complex, strange, and thoroughly detailed topics with us next time.